It's tough to stomach the price of a new car right now, with the average nearing $50,000. But if you buy a reliable car, your money goes a lot further. Consumer investigator Christine Lazar shows us which new cars really make the most financial sense.
It's the first couple of years that you lose the most money on a car.
Buying the cheapest car you can get that has the longest lifespan. Today's cars, we see them I see cars lasting 250,000 miles.
Full-size pickup trucks are sitting on dealer lots for over 200 days. 200 days. That is not a typo. We are talking about the Ford F-150, the Chevy Silverado, the Ram 1500, the best-selling, most American vehicles on the road, trucks that dealers cannot give away right now. And here is what makes this wild. These are not $20,000 beaters sitting in the back of some forgotten lot. These are $47,000, $60,000, $80,000 trucks, loaded, brand new, just sitting there, collecting dust while the dealer pays interest on every single one of them every single day. Meanwhile, across town, a $200,000 Mercedes is selling in under 5 weeks. A Lexus is gone in 19 days. A minivan is outselling the F-150. So what is actually happening? Because something broke. Something nobody at the dealership is going to tell you about when you walk in. And if you are even thinking about buying a truck right now, what does that mean for you? The numbers tell the story better than anything else. And right now, the numbers on full-size pickup trucks are unlike anything we have seen in years. There is a metric called market day supply. It is simple. It tells you how many days it would take a dealer to sell every truck on their lot at the current pace of sales. A healthy market sits around 50 to 60 days. That is the normal. That is the balance point where supply and demand are roughly working together. Full-size pickup trucks right now are sitting at over 200 days. The Ford F-150, the Chevy Silverado, the Ram 1500, the 3 best-selling trucks in America. All of them. Over 200 days of supply piling up on lots from coast to coast. At the current pace of sales, dealers would need more than 6 months just to clear what they already have, and the manufacturers are still building more. Now here is why that number needs to land before we go any further. Because 200 days is not just a stat. It means there are rows and rows of brand new trucks sitting outside right now, with nobody coming to buy them. Dealers are watching their inventory age. They are paying floor plan interest, which is the money they borrowed to stock those trucks in the first place, on every single unit that does not sell. Every day that truck sits, it is costing the dealer money. That pressure is real, and it matters to you in a way we are going to get into. But first, understand what this looks like on the other side of the market. Because while full-size trucks are rotting on lots, something else is happening simultaneously that makes the truck situation even harder to explain away. The Lexus GX is selling in 19 days. The Lexus ES is gone in 23. The Toyota Prius moves in 26 days. The RAV4, the Highlander, the Corolla Cross, all clearing in under 41 days. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class, a vehicle that sells for over $200,000, is moving faster than a Ram 1500. Same economy, same interest rates, same financial pressure sitting on every household in America. That contrast is not random. It is a signal. The market is telling you something right now that no dealer, no commercial, and no salesperson smiling across a showroom floor is going to volunteer. The demand for full-size trucks has hit a wall, and the reasons behind that wall go much deeper than most buyers realize before they sign. So what actually broke? That is exactly where we are going next. To understand why nobody is buying these trucks right now, you have to understand how they stopped being trucks in the first place. Go back 20 years. A full-size pickup was a work vehicle. It was a tool. Contractors bought them. Farmers bought them. People who needed to haul something, tow something, or get somewhere a regular car could not go. The price reflected that. You were buying capability, not status. Then something shifted. Manufacturers figured out something that changed everything. Truck buyers are emotional, and emotional buyers can be upsold. So they started building trim levels. King Ranch, Platinum, Limited, High Country, Laramie Longhorn. Trucks with heated and cooled leather seats, panoramic sunroofs, 12-inch touchscreens, and massaging driver seats. Trucks that had never seen a job site and never would. And buyers came. Because a truck was no longer just transportation. It was a statement. It said something about who you were, what you valued, how hard you worked, even if the hardest thing it ever hauled was groceries. Dealers and manufacturers leaned into this completely because the margins on a fully loaded truck are extraordinary. A base model F-150 makes the manufacturer a modest profit. A King Ranch trim at $75,000 makes them significantly more. So the incentive was always to push buyers toward the top. And it worked. For years, it worked. But here is where the math finally caught up. Those premium trims pushed average transaction prices on full-size trucks to $60,000, $70,000, even $80,000 for the higher configurations. A monthly payment on a $70,000 truck at current interest rates over 84 months clears $1,100 easily, sometimes $1,200. That is not a truck payment. That is a mortgage payment in a significant portion of this country. And the average American household cannot carry that alongside rent, groceries, utilities, insurance, and fuel without something eventually snapping. The manufacturers knew this ceiling existed. The dealers knew it too. But as long as buyers kept signing, there was no reason to stop pushing. The business model rewarded volume and margin simultaneously, and the buyer was the only one in the room without that information clearly in front of them. Now the market has finally said enough. The buyers who stretched to get into those high-trim trucks are either already underwater on their loans or watching from the sideline, unwilling to repeat the mistake. The buyers who could genuinely afford an $80,000 truck are buying Lexus GXs and Mercedes G-Wagons instead. What is left is a lot full of $60,000 to $80,000 pickups with nowhere to go. The status game ran its course. The inventory is the proof. And then the tariffs arrived. And everything that was already fragile got significantly worse. Here is what most people do not fully understand about how tariffs hit the car market. It is not a clean, simple equation where a foreign car gets taxed and an American car does not. The reality is messier than that and more expensive for the buyer, regardless of where the vehicle was assembled. Take the F-150, built in America, Dearborn, Michigan, Kansas City, Missouri. Sounds like it should be insulated from import tariffs entirely. But the engine components, the aluminum, the steel, the electronics, the transmission parts, the supply chain for even the most domestically assembled truck runs through Canada, Mexico, and overseas suppliers. Tariffs on raw materials and components feed directly into the cost of building that truck before it ever rolls off the line. And those costs go exactly one place: to you. New tariffs have added thousands of dollars to production costs across the board. Ford, GM, and Stellantis have all signaled that pricing pressure from tariffs is real and ongoing. Some estimates put the added cost per vehicle between $4,000 and $10,000, depending on the model and how exposed that particular supply chain is. On a truck already priced at $60,000, that is not a rounding error. That is the difference between a payment someone can manage and one they absolutely cannot. But the more immediate damage is not even the price increase itself. It is the uncertainty. Buyers who were already hesitating at $60,000 are now watching prices move higher in real time with no clear ceiling in sight. And when buyers cannot see a floor, they stop. They wait. They tell themselves they will revisit this in 6 months when things settle down. That freeze is showing up directly in the inventory data as more trucks pile up while daily sales rates slow. Dealers are caught in a position with no clean exit. They ordered their current inventory based on pricing assumptions that no longer hold. That stock is now sitting at transaction prices the market is actively rejecting, and they cannot simply send it back. The floor plan interest keeps running. The trucks keep aging. Manufacturers face the same impossible calculation they always face when costs spike. Absorb the tariff hit, protect your sales volume, and take the margin loss. Or pass it to the buyer, protect your margin, and watch the inventory build. The lot numbers make it obvious which choice is currently winning. Before we go further, if you want the complete breakdown of which vehicles are traps and which ones are smart buys right now, download the free ebook, Avoid These 17 Cars in 2026. Depreciation data, reliability scores, the exact models to walk away from. Link is in the description. The price on the window is not the real price. It never is. But with full-size trucks right now, the gap between what the sticker says and what the truck actually costs you from start to finish is wider than it has been in a generation. Start with interest rates. The rate environment that exploded in 2022 and 2023 never meaningfully came back down for auto loans. Buyers sitting across from a finance manager today are still looking at 7%, 8%, sometimes 9% or higher, depending on their credit profile. On a $65,000 truck, that is not a small number. That is thousands of dollars in interest, added on top of an already inflated purchase price before you have driven a single mile. Then comes the loan term. To make the monthly payment feel survivable, dealers stretch the loan. 72 months became the norm. Then 84 months became common. Now 96-month loans are appearing, which means buyers are signing contracts to pay off a truck for 8 full years. Run the actual math on that. A $65,000 truck at 8% over 84 months lands you at roughly $1,050 a month. By the time that loan is paid off, you have spent close to $88,000 on a vehicle that is worth maybe $25,000 at that point. You paid luxury money for something that depreciated underneath you the entire time. And that depreciation is the part that quietly destroys people. Full-size trucks lose value fast. The first 3 years are brutal. A truck purchased at $65,000 today could easily be worth $40,000 or less in 36 months, depending on mileage, condition, and where the market moves. If you finance the full purchase price, you are underwater almost immediately, and that gap widens every single month. This is the negative equity trap, and it is freezing the market in 2 directions simultaneously. New buyers cannot afford to get in at current prices and rates. Existing owners cannot afford to get out because they owe more than their truck is worth. Trading in means rolling that negative equity into the next loan, which makes the next payment even harder to survive. The people sitting on the sideline right now are not being irrational. They are watching this math play out in real time and deciding it does not work for them. That is not a lack of confidence in trucks. That is basic arithmetic, catching up to years of aggressive financing and inflated pricing working together at the worst possible time. The monthly payment is not the price of the truck. It is the price of ignoring everything attached to it. And right now, everything attached to it is substantial. 200 days of inventory does not just create a problem for manufacturers. It creates pressure on every single dealer sitting on that stock right now. And that pressure, if you understand how to use it, is actually the most valuable thing a truck buyer has seen in years. Here's how dealer financing works at the ground level. When a truck arrives on a dealer's lot, the dealer does not own it outright. They borrowed money from a lender to stock that unit. That loan is called floor plan financing. And just like any loan, it accrues interest every single day the vehicle sits unsold. On a $65,000 truck, that daily carrying cost adds up fast. Multiply that across a lot, holding 50, 60, sometimes 100 unsold trucks sitting past the 200-day mark, and the financial pressure on that dealership becomes very real, very quickly. This is why the conversation around full-size trucks has changed in the last few months in a way that has not been true for years. Dealers need to move this inventory, not eventually, now. And that need is creating something buyers have not had access to in a long time: genuine negotiating leverage. Manufacturer incentives are returning. Cashback offers that disappeared during the inventory shortage years are showing up again on F-150s, Silverados, and Ram 1500s. Dealer discounts below MSRP, which felt almost impossible to get 2 years ago, are back on the table for buyers who know to ask. Some manufacturers are offering subsidized financing rates on select trims to pull hesitant buyers off the sideline. But here is the critical distinction that separates a smart buyer from one who just feels like they got a deal. A $5,000 discount on a truck that is $15,000 overpriced is not a victory. It is a more comfortable version of the same trap. The discount feels like winning. The depreciation, the insurance, the fuel costs, and the interest still add up the same way underneath that good feeling. With 200+ days of supply, a prepared buyer should be walking into a dealership expecting to negotiate 8 to 12% below MSRP on the right model and the right trim. Not hoping for it, expecting it. The data supports that conversation before you even sit down. The smart move right now is not simply buying a truck because the price finally moved. It is asking whether that truck makes financial sense even after the discount. The dealer's desperation is your opportunity, but only if you walk in knowing exactly what you are looking for and exactly what number makes the deal worth signing. The leverage is real. The question is whether you use it. Full-size trucks collect dust on lots across the country. Something else is happening simultaneously that makes the truck situation impossible to explain away as just a bad economy or tough times for everyone. The market is not struggling. Specific vehicles are struggling. And the contrast between what is sitting and what is selling tells you everything you need to know about what buyers actually value when the price gets real. The Lexus GX is moving in 19 days at a price point that exceeds $80,000. There are 1,634 of them available nationwide, and dealers sold more than double that number in the last 45 days alone. A vehicle priced higher than most of the trucks sitting at over 200 days is practically flying off the lot before the floor plan interest can even register. The Lexus ES clears in 23 days, the Toyota Prius in 26, the Toyota Sienna, a minivan, a vehicle that carries no status, no aggressive styling, no V8 rumble, is gone in 34 days at over $52,000. The RAV4, the Highlander, the Corolla Cross, all moving in under 41 days. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class, a truck-shaped vehicle that sells for over $200,000, is clearing faster than a Ram 1500 priced at half as much. Same economy applying pressure to every household. Same interest rates sitting on every loan. Same financial uncertainty hanging over every buying decision. Completely different outcome depending on which vehicle we are talking about. So what do these vehicles have that $70,000 trucks do not? The answer is not a mystery once you look at the data clearly. Reliability reputation built over decades. Resale value that holds instead of craters. Total cost of ownership that makes sense when you run the real numbers beyond the monthly payment. And critically, buyers who made their decision based on math instead of identity. The Lexus GX buyer at $80,000 is not more financially powerful than the Ram 1500 buyer at $55,000. What they have is a different relationship with the purchase. They are buying transportation with a strong resale floor and a reliability record that does not surprise them with four-figure repair bills 18 months in. That combination keeps them out of trouble consistently. Toyota and Lexus have spent decades earning exactly this moment. The market is not rewarding them randomly. It is rewarding the trust they built one reliable vehicle at a time. And buyers who understand the difference between actual quality and the appearance of quality are the ones keeping those inventory numbers low. The data is not subtle here. The market knows exactly what it wants. It just does not want what is sitting on most truck lots right now. Everything we have covered comes down to one moment. The moment you walk into a dealership. Right now, that moment carries more weight than it has in years because the data has shifted in a direction that actually favors the prepared buyer. But only the prepared buyer. Start before you ever set foot on a lot. Look up the market day supply for the vehicle you are considering. This single number tells you more about your negotiating position than anything a salesperson will ever voluntarily share with you. A vehicle sitting for over 200 days means the dealer needs you more than you need them. A vehicle sitting for 19 days means the opposite is true, and you should walk in knowing that clearly. The number is not hidden. It is available. Use it. Then build the real cost of ownership before the monthly payment ever enters the conversation. What does insurance cost on this specific truck? Not a generic estimate. The actual rate for your age, your zip code, and this exact model? What does fuel cost monthly, based on real consumption numbers, not the EPA sticker, but what owners actually report? What does the maintenance history on this model look like after 50,000 miles? What does depreciation do to its value over the next 36 months? Run every one of those numbers before you sit down across from anyone holding a pen. Understand your loan from start to finish before you sign it. Not just the monthly number. The total interest paid over the life of that loan. What the vehicle will be worth when the loan ends versus what you will still owe at that point. An 84-month loan on a truck losing 40% of its value in 3 years is not a deal. It is a long-term financial anchor, dressed up as an affordable payment. Watch the tariff situation before you lock in. Prices may not be at their ceiling yet. A buyer who waits 2 months with clear information is in a fundamentally different position than a buyer who rushes in on emotion and signs before the market settles. And finally, separate the truck from your identity completely before you walk through that door. The inventory data is the most honest signal in this entire conversation. It does not care about the commercial. It does not care about how the truck looks in the driveway or what it says about you at the office parking lot. It just reflects what the market actually thinks when real money is on the table. The buyers walking into dealerships with this information right now have an advantage that has not existed in years. And before you walk into any dealership, download the free ebook, Avoid These 17 Cars in 2026. Depreciation data, reliability scores, the exact models mechanics see week after week. Everything we did not have time to cover today. The link is in the description. Read it first, then negotiate. Pull back from the details for a second and look at the full picture, because everything we covered today is connected by one thread running underneath all of it. Full-size trucks sitting for over 200 days is not a random market hiccup. It is not bad luck hitting one manufacturer or one model. It is the inevitable result of an industry that spent years building vehicles buyers could not actually afford and calling it progress. Manufacturers pushed prices past $70,000 and called it innovation. Dealers stretched loans to 84 months and called it flexibility. Buyers signed because the monthly payment felt manageable and the truck felt like success. Now the lot is full, the inventory is aging, the floor plan interest is running, and the math that nobody wanted to look at directly is finally visible to everyone in the room. But the other side of this story is just as clear. The Lexus GX selling in 19 days, the Prius gone in 26. The buyers who chose reliability over status, total cost of ownership over monthly payment, and equity over the appearance of success. They are not sitting underwater on a depreciating asset. They are building financial ground instead of losing it. The truck market correction is real. It is accelerating. And it is entirely avoidable if you walk into any dealership carrying data instead of emotion. The floor plan pressure, the negative equity spiral, the tariff uncertainty. None of it touches the buyer who walked in with a plan instead of a feeling. That buyer is always the one who wins.